I'm Jim Copeland. I'm the Chief Enforcement Attorney here at the department, and I am happy today to be talking to you all about this topic. I know especially pretty relevant in today's economic uncertainty. So first and foremost, in true attorney fashion, I do have to throw out a disclaimer to you all. This presentation that we're doing today is not meant to serve as a substitute for reading the various laws that we're going to talk about today, or is it a substitute for seeking your own legal counsel or requesting guidance or interpretation from us here at the department on the laws that we administer and enforce. We can spend days talking about credit repair. Today, I'm really just trying to kind of go over an introduction and an overview to kind of give you all a good kind of tidbits of information to consider before paying for credit counseling services. So, credit counseling in the state of South Carolina, and you're going to hear me use a few words, so I felt like it was important to get this out there up front. In South Carolina, credit counseling is a term of art, meaning that it is a defined term under the law. So in South Carolina, all credit counselors have to be licensed. South Carolina does a 3-tier licensing structure. We license the credit counseling organization itself. We license the location of the organization, and we also license individual counselors that will be speaking to South Carolina consumers. So, and you're going to hear me repeat this time and time again today on our short presentation, that they have to be licensed in the state of South Carolina. So your counselor will be licensed, the location from which you are receiving services will be licensed, and the organization itself will be licensed. Again, in South Carolina, we have in our Consumer Protection Code in Chapter 7 of Title 37, I'm not going to bore you with legal citations, but the law says a person may not engage in credit counseling services in South Carolina, and this is important, whether or not the person has an office here in South Carolina, unless they have a license from us. So regardless of where where the company is located, if they are speaking to you as a South Carolina consumer, they better have a license from us. So, our kind of terminology. So, like I said, you're going to hear me refer to credit counseling. A credit counseling organization is the organization that provides credit counseling services to you. A credit counselor is the person that's doing that. And here's where we are going to get kind of in the definitions. So when I say credit counseling, I mean in the state of South Carolina, any one of 3 different, totally different kinds of services. First, credit counseling can be receiving money from consumers to distribute it among the consumer's creditors. You may have heard of this as debt management plans. I may refer to debt management plans, and that is what I am talking about. Secondly, improving or offering to improve a consumer's credit record, history, or rating, i.e., credit repair, credit improvement, credit boost. Any of these terms are credit counseling in South Carolina. And third, negotiating to defer or reduce your obligation with your creditors. That is debt negotiation or debt settlement. So, to be clear, 3 different, totally different types of services, all considered credit counseling in the state of South Carolina. So, credit repair. This is probably the more common one that folks hear about. Credit repair refers to the process of challenging and disputing errors on your credit reports. Companies that provide this service leverage your right to three recognized standards. First and foremost, credit reports have to be 100% accurate. Secondly, they have to be fair. And third, they have to be fully substantiated. So, as an example, we all know what accurate means. It just has to be right. Fair, basically the easiest way to illustrate this is, say, for example, you have a collection account that's been sold to different debt collectors along its life as debt. It can appear on your credit report multiple times. So it can appear for each debt collector that has that debt from the original creditor. The information is accurate, but it's not fair reporting on your credit report multiple times. Now, with credit repair, I want you to remember everything we're talking about today. You can do this by yourself. This is the validation dispute process with your credit bureaus. And just real quickly, I want to throw a buyer beware in there. Always beware of companies that just offer to send a verification and validation letters without first establishing that the debt is legitimate. You should not be disputing a debt that you know is legitimate, simply because credit repair companies and the less scrupulous credit repair companies, especially the unlicensed ones, generally will throw just blanket letters to credit bureaus that say, hey, dispute this debt. That's generally not the best way to go about doing things, simply because once the credit bureau investigates and determines that that dispute is unfounded and that it is a legitimate debt, that debt's going to pop right back on your credit report, and whatever temporary credit credit boost that you received is going to come right back down. It's not really a permanent solution. Now, debt management plans are usually a little bit more involved. You as a consumer deposit money each month with the credit counseling organization. That company then uses what you have deposited to pay unsecured bills, credit cards, student loans, medical bills, and they do this according to a payment schedule that the counselor will develop with you and your creditor, because creditors are going to generally need to agree to allow you to work with, third parties or situations like that. Remember, with DMPs, debt management plans, a few steps that will help you benefit is, remember, you always need to continue to pay your bills until your creditors have approved that plan. If you stop making your payments before your creditors have approved that plan, you're going to face late fees, penalties, negative entries on your credit report. So you need to be careful with that. Also, contact your creditors and confirm that they have received payments each month from your provider. Make sure that the payment plan, the payment schedule allows your debts to be paid on time before the due date. If you sail past that due date, regardless of whether you're in dealing with a credit counselor, doing these on your own, the creditor is going to be well within their legal rights to charge you late fees. And paying on time is the only way to avoid late fees. Also, review your monthly statements. That's an important one too, to just make sure that what you expect to be happening is happening. Unfortunately, it's one of those things that the law helps those that help themselves. So don't necessarily 100% ever rely on someone else, because this is your money and your credit. So just, there's steps to take to follow up. The debt management plan, a couple of things that I'm sure most of you have heard. There are a couple of different, I guess, plans of attack methods that companies and individuals use for debt management. You've heard the avalanche method and the snowball method. The avalanche method, they're going to attack the highest interest rate. For example, credit cards, they're going to attack the highest interest rate cards first. This allows you to save money on interest or interest charges over an extended period of time. However, it does take longer before the accounts start falling off of your credit report. The other one, the snowball method, very similar to what it sounds like. We attack the lowest balances first. This creates kind of extra funds by eliminating those lower balance cards first. This tends to also give the customer a greater sense of progress, because you see it happen faster, because you are attacking those smaller balances. You're taking smaller bites of a bigger apple, so you get to see those bites. The third one, debt negotiation. Now this one is really very self-explanatory. Companies will charge you to negotiate agreements between you and your creditors. Under debt negotiation, basically lenders agree to accept a portion of what you owe and consider the debt paid in full. Now, a couple of things to remember if you're considering a debt negotiation plan is that this type of service may require you to come up with large amounts of cash at one time. For example, you owe your credit card $10,000. That credit card company may be willing, depending on hardship and individual circumstances, may be willing to accept $5,000. Now, 50% off is a pretty high percentage, so don't get kind of hung up on that. The idea is that basically they agree to accept less money than you owe and consider it paid in full. Now, with this one, the lender may close, and they would be perfectly within their rights to do so, may close the account completely after the settlement. So this may affect your score adversely, which is why when you are considering credit counseling, and we'll talk about it a little bit later, is that it's always important to make sure that you are getting advice from a legitimate professional. Because unfortunately, whenever you are dealing with debt or bad credit reports or accounts on your credit reports that may not be even yours, certain things, if you do incorrectly, can affect your score the wrong way. And not on purpose or anything like that. You may think that, hey, if I settle my debt for 5,000 and it's paid in full, I'm good to go. Well, they report that. And also, you may be subject to tax liability. A creditor can technically send you a 1099 for any debt that they forgive. So back to our $10,000 example, if that creditor agrees to take $5,000 from you, then that other $5,000 that they forgave, you may have to pay taxes on that $5,000. A licensed professional will be able to talk to you about those certain liabilities. So that's something to consider before you pay for credit counseling services. Sometimes it's worth paying a professional to make sure that it's done the right way. If you are considering credit counseling, a couple of things. Why credit counseling might be right for you. Like I said in the beginning, we are all living through some really unprecedented, or at least in most of our uh, spending lifetimes that we have ever seen. Inflation's at an extreme high. Things are costing more than they are or have before in recent memory. And also, there are a lot of potential side effects to bad credit. You may find it harder to get a loan to buy a new car or home with bad credit. If you don't have great credit, bigger, well-known, reputable lenders are reluctant to give you a loan, which may in turn force you to go through to higher interest rate lenders. Qualifying for credit cards may be difficult. Believe it or not, you pay higher insurance premiums for your home, for your car, for your renter's insurance. If you apply for a job that handles money, they're going to look at your credit. It can be hard to rent an apartment. And believe it or not, utility companies, when they run a background check, they may require you to pay a higher deposit to even get electricity hooked up to your home. Getting started. Obviously, the first step in in addressing any issue is identifying the issue. So in order to do that, you have to obtain your credit report. You can do that free each year from all three of the major credit bureaus, and you need to carefully review each section of your report. Now, deciding. I want you to remember that you can repair credit yourself. Everything we've talked about so far and everything we're going to talk about, you can do yourself. However, you may not have the time to do it. It may be something that you need done as fast as possible, or you might be dealing with some complex issues that requires you to seek the assistance of a professional. If you decide that a professional is right for you, before you pay any money, I recommend that you come to our website, like I showed you on the second slide or third slide, and look to make sure that they are licensed in the state of South Carolina. Of all the complaints that we receive against credit counselors, I don't know the exact number, but I want to say that more than 3/4 of those complaints that we get are from unlicensed providers. If the provider is not following the law to the extent of the threshold requirement of requiring a license in this state, chances are you're going to pay more and you're not going to get what you pay for. Also, search the complaints, background that business, see what kind of complaints they're getting, see what kind of resolution the company is offering for those complaints. Are they making the customer happy? Are they not responding at all? Wanted to show you real quickly, when you click on licensee lookup, this is what the page is going to look like. We license about 15 industries in this state, so you want to be sure to click on credit counselors. You see it there on the third option. Click on that and it brings up a spreadsheet of our credit counselors in this state. Make sure you pick one that's on the list. Also, search complaints. If you're considering a company, throw it in there. See how many complaints they have. See the dates, see the summaries, see how they're doing it. Do your research. Always remember that not only should you check with us here, check with your local BBB. See if they have any complaints and how they're resolved. Research the qualifications of the company and its employees. Also, determine what services are offered to make sure the company can meet your needs. Ask questions. What services do you offer? Do you offer information? If they're not willing to give you this information free up front without any hesitation, no questions asked, without any pressure, walk away. Not a legitimate company. These companies know that the folks that are coming to them are in probably one of the worst situations of their life. I mean, they are struggling to make ends meet. So legitimate companies know this and they act accordingly. If you get a company that promises the world, that says you'll do this, you'll do that, pay me up front, walk away. Not legitimate. And on the topic of costs, real quickly, debt management plans, DMPs, I wanted to go through kind of what in South Carolina, because fees are capped in this state, meaning that credit counselors cannot charge you but so much for the services. Debt management plans, they can charge you an initial consultation fee of $60, a plan setup fee of $50, and a monthly maintenance fee of $10 per creditor that you have in that plan, not to exceed $70 per month. Credit repair companies can charge you a $60 consultation fee and a $50 monthly maintenance fee. Same with debt settlement companies. They can charge you a $60 consultation fee and a $10 per creditor fee, not to exceed, again, the $70. Now, I want to caution, because we all see the signs. If you're like me that get on an interstate at any time, we all see the signs on the telephone poles that have a number that say, call this number and we will erase your credit. Only $99. Well, I can tell you right out of the gate that not a licensed company. It is a complete and total scam, because $99 is more than a credit counselor can charge you. So, complete scam. Know your rights. Credit counseling companies, and this goes back to the information up front, ask questions. They have to provide you financial education program. They have to, under South Carolina law, provide you with the information on their services, on what is a good budget, on how to come up with a good budget. Basically, all of that information, they have to provide you the financial education. Counselors have to analyze your budget to make sure their program is right for you. This is why we allow them the $60 consultation charge, because they should be asking you questions, determining what your income, what your expenses is, basically doing a financial workup for you, making sure that they can actually help you before you have to continue paying them. That's a big deal. Unscrupulous companies don't do that. Pay me $99 right now and I'll fix your credit. Another thing, and we'll talk about that upfront fees here in a minute, you have to be given a copy of your contract. And another thing, in South Carolina, you can cancel your credit counseling contract anytime by giving 10 days written notice. Now, this doesn't mean that you're going to get back the money that you've already provided to them, but you can cancel the contract going forward. If the counselor is paying your creditors, for example, on a debt management plan, they are required to send you a statement every 3 months. A few things that credit counselors cannot do is they can't ask you for any voluntary contributions. They can't charge you more than what we say they can charge you. They're not allowed to have you sign any contract with blank spaces, and they can't mislead you. They can't tell you something that's not true. Some red flags. A reputable credit counseling agency should send you free information about itself and all of the services it provides without requiring you to provide any details about who you are and what's going on. If the firm does not do that, choose a different one. And if it is one of our licensed providers, then please give me a call and let me know. Red flags. We talked about the signs on the side of the road, and that's just one of my pet peeves because I see them. I see them every single day, and I see them about every single intersection. We pick them up, we try to track them down and figure out who they are and get them licensed. But for the most part, those companies, when you see a sign on the side of the road with no name, just a hey, fix your credit for $99, scam, keep going, don't even call the number. Having to pay up front for services, again, you're not required to pay up front for any service. And remember, everything you need to know, we did learn in kindergarten. Guarantees and promises that are too good to be true are always too good to be true. Another red flag, if anybody ever tells you don't contact your creditors or don't contact the reporting bureaus, total scam. It is your financial information. Another one that we get questions on a lot is that nonprofit doesn't guarantee services that are free, affordable, or even legitimate. Just because it says nonprofit doesn't mean they're not going to charge you, and it doesn't mean that they are licensed. Remember, they are also other debt relief options than the three methods that we talked about today. Always remember, you can call your lender and tell them. I mean, you borrowed money from them, call them up and tell them what's going on. Hey, I can't pay this month. Rather than paying a company to talk to your creditor on your behalf, remember, try it yourself for free. You can find the telephone number on your statement. Always keep records of who you spoke to, what they said, and if they agree to do anything, tell them to send it to you in writing. Trust me, they will. Your goal is to work out a plan that works for you. You can always also speak to a bankruptcy attorney. Now, bankruptcy is a serious consideration, which is why I always recommend talk to an attorney. Um, it could lower your credit score in the beginning. There are different types of bankruptcy. We're not going to get into the legal of that, but there are different types that an attorney can kind of walk you through that kind of process. I thank y'all very much for joining me today. Hope you learned a lot. I did. It was great being with you, and until next time.